down the ladder. Alright, let's put this on. Honestly, what a scam. I mean, I literally sold my left kidney for that trip, and I thought I was going to the Great Barrier Reef. Not whatever that was. Yeah, good riddance. Honestly, I hope Reginald's alive though. He was the only half-decent guy on that trip. Well, I mean, we're chilling for now, I guess. Yeah, I mean, what's the worst that can happen, right? Oh, my head. What in the controlled burning? Hey, dude, open it. Oh. Alright. Oh. Quick, go for the fire extinguisher. Oof. Alright, no problem. Well, yeah. What's this? A letter. Let's see what it's saying. Hello, tourist. You have wandered into the GBR MPA zone and have been considered a threat. Your ship has crashed. In order to escape, you must teach a class of people about coral reefs and the Great Barrier Reef. Well, I guess I've got nothing else to do because my situation is dire, so I guess I just have to do everything I can to try and get out of this place. But, yeah, my pod's a little bit being up right now, so it's kind of smoking in here. I'm just gonna climb out. Excuse me, can you get out of the way? Thank you. Oh, are you kidding me? I sold my house for this trip.
Hull failure. Cause unknown. 0 human life signs detected.
Well, that's just great. I'm in this by myself as well. Well, I guess this does count as ocean. It's not the Great Barrier Reef, but it is something, I guess. So I've got to teach this class of students. Let's dive into it, I guess. Quick disclaimer, none of the biomes that were just shown there are actually real, nor are they coral reefs, so please do not go writing about them in your final exam. I'm sure that's given, but just want to clear things up. Also, for this lesson, you're going to need the worksheet, which will be provided in the collaboration space. Just copy that over into your section, and then you can fill it out. Just another great morning here at the Great Barrier Reef School with our friendly and completely safe whales. Hi guys. Well, looks great outside, but I think I'm late to teach class, so let's get to it. Good morning, Woody. How was your weekend?
It was scrumptious.
That's great to hear. Let me just go grab a coffee real quick. Nope, doesn't seem to be working. Okay. Well, I think I should just get to teaching, so let's do that. Who's ready to learn? Yeah, I'm loving the enthusiasm, guys. Well, without further ado, let's get into this. Okay, so let's begin with the distribution and main characteristics of coral reef ecosystems. There are two types of coral reef ecosystems which exist, the first one being deep-sea cold water coral reefs, and the other being tropical coral reefs, both of which are distributed all over the world under certain conditions. Firstly, let's talk about deep-sea cold water coral reefs. These are found in the deeper, nutrient-rich, and high-latitude waters with consistent currents. Usually, these coral reef ecosystems are located between depths of 2,000 to 6,600 feet, where temperatures can reach as cold as 4 degrees. The conditions found in these areas may not seem optimal for coral reefs to form due to the lack of sunlight presence and near freezing temperatures. However, these types of reefs do not need zooxanthellae to survive, and is instead other factors such as rapid ocean currents which keep the deep sea coral reef ecosystem thriving. The deep sea ocean currents allow for the quick cycling of nutrients into and out of the ecosystem, therefore stimulating the growth of the stony corals such as Phylum Cinderia by providing a sustainable source of nutrients. Alongside this, the currents also prevent sedimentation from occurring on the corals and therefore prevents the deaths of already established corals. Deep sea cold water ecosystems are usually inhabited by stone corals such as Lupeolia, Pertusia, Gorgonians, and Phylum Cinderia, and do not need zooxanthellae to survive, as mentioned previously. On the worksheet, there is a box provided for the name of a specific stony coral species. You can choose any of the four I just mentioned, and I'll put their spellings on the board. Just for you, Tyler. Wink. Uh, Knowing one of these species will make you look even cooler in the exam than you already are. Well, the examiners will think you're cool at least. Anyways, back on task. The corals within these reef ecosystems grow relatively slow at a rate of 5 to 25 millimeters per year. These reef ecosystems are spatially distributed around the world and can be found in the far north and South Atlantic, as well as in areas with warmer water such as along the Florida coast. There have also been recent discoveries of these coral reefs on Europe's margin and in the Mediterranean Sea. The largest deep-sea cold-water coral reef that has ever been discovered is off the coast of Norway's Rost Island and is 40 kilometers long and about 4 to 3 kilometers wide. On the complete opposite spectrum of things, we have tropical coral reefs, which are usually found in shallower and warmer waters between 30 degrees north and south of the equator. In these areas, surface water temperatures do not drop below 16 degrees Celsius, making it optimal for coral growth as the warmer water encourages the photosynthetic zooxanthellae to photosynthesize and grow at a faster rate. The total area of the world's coral reefs sums up to approximately 284,000 kilometers squared. Unlike deep-sea cold-water coral reefs, tropical reefs are characterized by the much faster rate of growth of about 1 to 100 centimeters per year due to the warmer temperatures and more sunlight presence. They can form huge structures over elongated periods of time, making them the largest and oldest living systems on Earth. For example, the Great Barrier Reef in Australia is over 2,000 kilometers long and has formed over the last 5 million years. The structures formed by the corals can create habitats for multiple, unique oceanic species. I hate to be that guy, I really do, but we've got a task to do before we can move on. As you can see on the sheet, there's a map of the world. I would like all of you to colour in where you think the highest concentrations of tropical coral reefs are. This should only take about 1 minute. Alright, so now that we're done with that, let's move on to the environmental conditions associated with reef development. A coral reef is composed of calcium carbonate, or limestone, which form the underlying foundations of coral skeletons. The calcium carbonate and the limestone is absorbed from the water by colonies of coral polyps and coralline algae. The living reef that is built over the top of the coral skeleton is inhabited by tiny coral polyps, adding new limestone to the massive base structure. Corals achieve their array of colors through a symbiotic relationship with photosynthetic microorganisms called zooxanthellae. Honestly, I love to butcher symbiotic in exams. It makes me feel 10 times smarter. So every time you need to talk about the relationship between polyps and zooxanthellae, use it. Anyways, these single-celled algae reside within the coral polyp's tissue, gaining the energy from the sun to produce nutrients through photosynthesis. In return, corals provide a safe zone for these zooxanthellae as well as essential compounds for their growth. This partnership not only gives the corals their colors, but also sustains their overall health. For the zooxanthellae to thrive, and hence the polyps to thrive as well, they require good levels of sunlight to sustain their levels of photosynthesis. This explains the reason why tropical coral reefs are found so close to the surface. Not only this, but their shallower locations remove the threat of sedimentation and also the removal of polyps via strong ocean currents. Although lighter oceanic currents do provide a good supply of nutrients without damaging the corals. However, there is the threat of coral bleaching occurring when environmental stressors such as elevated sea level temperatures, pollution, or changes in water quality disrupt this delicate balance, causing corals to expel their zooxanthellae, leading to coral bleaching. Again, just like with symbiotic, the word expel is crucial to use when describing this process. So remember to use it. Yeah, I'm looking at you to. You thought I was going to say Tyler. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Tyler. um, Alright, once the coral is left without the zooxanthellae, there is a strong possibility for the coral to starve and die. This is because the zooxanthellae provide about up to 90% of all nutrients needed for the corals to survive. So, their expulsion from the polyps means there is no nutrient source for the corals, which inevitably leads to their death. The mass bleaching of coral reef ecosystems and the subsequent loss of coral coverage often leads to a massive loss of fish and other marine life diversity within the ecosystem. When corals become bleached, their growth is hindered and they leave behind a calcium carbonate skeleton. This skeleton quickly becomes taken over by algae, which blocks out coral regrowth and takes up the position that zooxanthellae would be in. Now, an interesting fact about this is that it leads to the erosion of coral skeletons. This is because the invasive species, the crown of thorns starfish, actually feed off of the algae that is attached to the polyps, and during the process of feeding, they destroy the corals. Yeah. There has already been a 44% loss over the past 20 years in the Florida Keys and about up to 80% in the Caribbean. The erosion of the reef structure leaves many marine creatures vulnerable to predators within the ecosystem, subsequently ruining the food chain within that reef, which causes biodiversity to plummet. Moreover, the diversity of fish species is also negatively impacted, as many of the herbivorous fish that rely on the corals for food will begin to die out. For this section, we do need to know the three different types of coral reef structures and formations. And I know for a fact that Dan doesn't know these because I absolutely smoked him yesterday when this question came up in the quiz. Anyways, let's move on to it. So, firstly, we have atolls. These are roughly circular reef systems surrounding a central lagoon. Secondly, we have fringing coral reefs. These grow directly from a shore with no area of open water between the beach and the inshore edge of the reef. This is the most common type of reef because there is no intervening lagoon to act as a buffer zone between the land and the reef. They are particularly sensitive to pollution and sedimentation from rivers. Thirdly, we have barrier reefs, hence the name Great Barrier Reef. These are extensive linear reef complexes that develop parallel to the shoreline and separated from it by a lagoon. What? Come again? You're desperate to do another task. It's been 5 minutes. Well, have it your way, Matteo. Guys, you have 2 to 3 minutes to fill in the blanks for the task in front of you. Okay, now, on to Dylan's self-proclaimed favourite part of the Geography AQA A-Level Specification. Factors in the health and survival of reefs. It's true, trust. I even have a citation right here from a reliable source. Anyways, let's get on with it. So, for coral reefs to thrive, they must have temperatures between 23 to 29 degrees, a pH of 8 to 8.4, and a salinity of between 34 to 37 parts per 1,000. Without these requirements being met, coral reefs suffer from coral bleaching. Coral reefs are not only at threat from bleaching, but also at threat from the rogue tourist. Nah, I'm only joking. Algal blooms also pose a threat to reefs. Algal blooms occur when rapid algal growth causes a layer of algae to form over the coral reefs and block out sunlight, as well as creating competition for oxygen. When oxygen levels decrease, marine animals, coral reefs, seagrass beds, and other vital habitats suffer and may die. These algal blooms can be a result of eutrophication from runoff of fertilizers from nearby farms. Alright, and that pretty much sums up the factors involved in the... Tyler, what is wrong now?
When will we learn about human activities and their impacts on coral reefs, especially the Great Barrier Reef?
Actually, the term is anthropogenic.
Yo, chill out, guys, chill out. I mean, Tyler, he is kind of correct. Anthropogenic is the better word to use in this scenario. But if you'll let me finish my sentence, what I was about to say is that the next section is, in fact, human activity and its impact on the Great Barrier Reef. Without further ado, let's talk about drainage basin schemes. There are 35 drainage basins whose rivers drain right into the Great Barrier Reef ecosystem. Changes in these can affect runoff into the reef and possibly cause eutrophication and other negative impacts. For example, from 2012 to 2014, more than 200,000 hectares of forest was cleared in Queensland. These trees intercepted rainfall and increased infiltration levels. Therefore, the deforestation increased the surface runoff of water as a result of lack of roots binding the soils together. Without roots to bind the soil together, the soil becomes compact and stores less water from infiltration, causing runoff. Additionally, the exposure of soil to heavier rainfalls causes leaching and soil erosion. Overall, the deforestation causes inputs of pollutants and sediment into the reef. Dams, such as the Burdekin Falls Dam in Queensland, which was built to provide water for drinking, industry and irrigation, change the amount and timing of freshwater flows into the reef, which can disrupt the ecosystem. Moving on, let's look at onshore development. Coastal developments can damage or destroy onshore ecosystems, such as mangrove forests, which increase the amount of nutrients and sediment that are added to the reef ecosystem. Too much sediment prevents light from reaching the corals, limiting its growth. The expansion of ports involves dredging. This is when the seafloor is dug up so that ships can reach the shore. Dredging destroys habitats and increases the likeliness of coral disease. Desalination is up next. If water shortages increase, Australia may become more reliant on desalination. Salt from desalinated water is often mixed with wastewater and pumped back into the sea. If this was done near the Great Barrier Reef, it would change the water chemistry and negatively impact the corals. Now, onto pollution. Runoff from farmland in the drainage basins often contains fertilizers, which means the water reaching the reef has a high nutrient content, resulting in algal blooms. Land-based runoff can also contain other pollutants, such as heavy metals. These can disrupt reproduction or cause cancer in marine animals living off of the reef. Alongside this, shipping causes pollution around the reef, such as from waste disposal, oil spills, and toxic paints used on boat hulls. Furthermore, global pollution can also impact the Great Barrier Reef. Climate change in recent decades has been the main contributor to causing coral bleaching. The increase in atmospheric greenhouse gas emissions as a result of higher fossil fuel combustion has led to the enhanced greenhouse gas effect, where global temperatures have risen consistently. As a result of this, there has been more ocean acidification due to atmospheric carbon dioxide dissolving into oceans and increasing the pH levels, making the water more acidic. This increase in oceanic temperatures and pH is the main stressor for coral bleaching. Let's briefly look at tourism. Tourism is the largest commercial activity around the Great Barrier Reef, with over 2 million people visiting the reef each year. The tourism industry creates pollution in many different ways, i.e. through waste disposal, litter, and pollution from boats. This affects the corals and species dependent on them. Corals can also be damaged by boat anchors and poor diving practices, such as divers stepping on corals and breaking pieces off. Coastal developments such as hotels can damage coastal ecosystems such as mangrove forests and estuaries, which are important for maintaining the reef. Finally, let's address fishing. Fishing can remove certain species from the reef, such as predators like the snapper. The removal of predators means that the food chain is disrupted and there may be a surplus of prey. This may lead to overgrazing of the corals and algae. Some fishing methods are unsustainable, such as trawling, which damages the corals and kills animals such as turtles by drowning them. Now that was interesting, right guys? Whatever, you guys are no fun. But you know what is? The future prospects for the Great Barrier Reef. Okay, let's start. Human activities have already caused a lot of damage to the Great Barrier Reef, and climate change only makes the problem much worse. Mass coral bleaching is becoming more frequent, which means the ecosystem has less time to recover between bleaching events. In 2016, the reef suffered from the worst bleaching event on record, when 67% of corals in the northern section of the reef died. Damage to the Great Barrier Reef puts thousands of species at risk. However, management strategies are implemented to help minimize damage, and this can be on both a global and local scale. So listen up. Firstly, we have the Reef 2050 plan, which is a framework for how the reef should be managed up until 2050. The government, industries, environmental groups, and scientists work together to improve the reef's health while allowing for some development. Much of the reef is managed by the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park Authority, or the GBR-MPA. In 2003, they established a zoning system that restricts human activity in vulnerable parts. Fishing is strictly regulated to limit the number of fish that are caught, especially protected species. Companies using the reef pay an environmental management charge. This money funds research, education, and management of the reef. The tourism industry can benefit conservation efforts through tour operators reporting on the health of the reef. The Reef Trust has also been set up to improve water quality and habitats in and around the reef. It has been awarded 40 million Australian dollars for the funding. The Reef Water Quality Protection Plan was also set up in 2003 and involves government, farmers, and industry working together to limit pollutants running off the land and into the reef. Well, I'm afraid that's it. Guys, it's been a pleasure teaching you. Yep. You guys as well. You're all dismissed. Woody, I will miss you. Well, let's see what the GBR MPA says about me going home. You have completed your task. Go to these coordinates to go home. Okay. Seems simple enough, I guess. Well, I'm at the pickup spot now. This doesn't really seem ideal, but I'm sure they'll pull up in a submarine and come and get me. What was that? No way. I knew they'd pull a fast one on me. Damn you, GBR MPA!